Database has all the data that you need, but every time you query that database, the DBA sends you angry emails because, well, there is such a load on that app's database. There has to be a better way, and the better way is mirroring. Welcome to the video about mirroring. We will learn about the key concepts and then have some practical demonstrations. As always, let's have a look at the Fabric periodic table because it's such a great source to get started. So, well, mirroring database, you have the description, all the key features, what is GA and what not. You have some common scenarios, some technical stuff here with the Fabric CLI reference, and so on. So, well, let's dig a little bit into our mirroring architecture. How does it really work, and what's the mental model behind? So, well, the mental model, right? You have the source database. Source database. So, first, you can do ETL. You can do ETL. That's the first step, ETL. Oh, no. There we go. ETL. ETL means that you transform the data and you do some custom processing. But in the end, it's a copy. The second way that you can behave is you can do shortcut. When you shortcut, you have a link. And you have a remote reference. And the third way, you can replicate, do mirroring. When you mirror, you have a replica. And you have a delta copy in one lake. Yeah? So, in the first step, you can change the data because you have custom ETL. In the second step, your data is not in Fabric at all. It's just shortcutted, with all the ups and downs. In the third step, you have a copy of your data, but it's automatically replicated. But shortcuts work only for files. And copy works for more complex data types like databases. So that's the mental model, ETL, file, and mirroring. Mirroring for databases and complex data types, and shortcutting for everything that is file-based. Let's dig a little bit into the CDC replication flow, change data capture. How does mirroring really work? CDC replication flow. So you have on the left side your application that writes data. Into our source database. That means for database systems, this creates a transaction which is stored in the transaction log. The transaction log, this change is captured via change data capture. It's the change log on the transaction log, change capture. Right? So you can query the transaction log in a proper way. From there on, we have a stream to stream to the Fabric monitoring service. And this Fabric monitoring service then writes the data into, guess it, one lake. And there it appears as mirrored database. So this is a change, the CDC change data capture flow, how this works behind the scenes. Which sources are supported for mirroring? You guess it. These are databases, not files, because for files you can use shortcutting. So it's just a list. So we have G8 sources. G8 sources are Azure SQL, SQL Managed Instance, MI, Managed Instance, that's a large version of SQL database, SQL Server 2022, Cosmos DB, and Snowflake. And for the current state and preview, but that will change, of course, is Postgres, MySQL, and Databricks. So these are the sources at the moment that are supported. Check online for your needs because things can change very quickly. So let's go into Fabric mirroring. I have created a workspace called mirroring and I want to set up a mirror. To have something to mirror, I have created a SQL database on Azure with a sample data set, the AdventureWorks LT, which is kind of built in, very simple. So this is my resource here. And I can show you the data. I can go into the query editor and then we will see that there are some tables. See it here, and I could query it, but just that you have an idea. You need, before that, to enable public access for that SQL server. So you need to do that on the server side, except that you have something special in Fabric like VNet and so on. But when you want just to play through the demonstration, then you need to go to security on the server, not on the database. I can show it to you quickly. So let's go to, this is my Fabric demo, and I have the SQL server here. And when you go to security networking, you need to enable the public access, just to know. This is not recommended for production usage, of course, but for demonstration, I think it's fine. So let's mirror. I go to new, type in mirror Azure SQL database. I say new sources, Azure SQL database. Now I need to get my data from the database. So I need to jump back to my database. There we go. And I need the server name. It's over here. And I need the database name. This is this one. We have a nice button here, mirror database in Fabric, which initiates the same thing from the Azure portal. But I think we are good to go when doing that. So I have organizational account authentication enabled, so I can simply hit connect. I could go with SQL Server authentication, that would be also fine. But of course, it's not so secure than using org authentication. So next step is choose the data. There is one important check mark here. Down, automatically mirror future tables. You can do that. Depends. For production, I would avoid it, I think, for most of the cases. Now we can select our tables. And well, the first error occurs here. You see that the database cannot be mirrored to Fabric due to the below error. Please turn on the system assigned managed identity and set it as a primary identifier for your SQL server. So we need to do that, and then we can continue with that. This is one of the experiences when doing mirroring in Fabric, that you have certain prerequisites that need to be met, and you will from time to time fail on that with databases that don't meet the requirements. So I have fixed that. It's very simple. You need again to go to the SQL server, the security, identity, and switch on the system managed identity, and there you're good to go. Then you go to back and connect again, and you will see all the different tables here that we can mirror. You will receive errors or warnings regarding unsupported columns. The rule is very simple. When something is unsupported, it will not be mirrored. Now, for our test now, it's okay. So we simply can hit connect. Our destination is Fabric Demo 2. And let's create a mirrored database. So Wizard is running. Create your mirror database. So it's provisioning, the analytics endpoint, replication, and then starting replication. Keep that running, and I will come back once this is finished. How does it work in Fabric once you have mirrored your database? You have your source. Let's say you have an Azure SQL database. This is your source database. From there on, you initiate mirroring. And then you are in the Fabric platform. You will get a mirror database item. It's like a special kind of database. It's not like Lakehouse or Warehouse. It's something that you cannot change, basically. It's a mirrored DB item, which brings you these tables as delta. And from there, you can use them in the Lakehouse. And in the Lakehouse, you will get mirrored tables as delta. There's a video about lakehouses and shortcutting and so on, where you can see how that works. But basically, you get a table. And from there on, you can use the SQL endpoint to query your data. For example, with Power BI or with notebooks or everything else that uses the SQL language. So what we have now is our mirror database. We can jump in here. And we have the SQL Analytics endpoint. We see the replication status. So currently replication is running. See that? But it's not yet finished. So we can leave it again and come back once this has finished. Okay, so mirroring is on a good way. It's running. We have all the rows replicated. We can, by the way, configure the replication. This is a dialog we already know. We can stop the replication, and we can see our data. So let's go to our workspace. Go to the SQL endpoint, and I've already clicked on that because it takes some time to load. So we have the sales LT with all our data here, and we can click on one table. I clicked on customer or customer address or whatever, and we can see the data. Of course, we can do that also with SQL, no problem. So now our data is in OneLake and is in Fabric, and from here ongoing it behaves like it was like Fabric native, so like as it would be born in Fabric. So that's really cool. So we can create a semantic model on top. Sales semantic. Put in all our tables. And then we can try to build a report on top to see all the beauty of our data. So semantic model is creating. So semantic model is created. Let's create a simple report. This will not be fantastic because I didn't put all the relationships in. So don't expect something very fancy. But it's always a nice ending that we see our data. There we go. This is our data, freshly mirrored from SQL server side. There might be questions regarding latency. So you have like a latency spectrum. Of course, you have real-time event stream, which is great, but there are additional costs, and of course it's a special way to do stuff, right? We are talking there about milliseconds. Next, we have near real-time. Near real-time is mirroring. We are talking about minutes. This is near real time. This is mirroring, our topic for today. And then we have batch. Batch means ETL pipeline. Usually we talk there about hours. So I think mirroring is a pretty attractive sweet spot just in the middle. Let's have a look at common community questions regarding mirroring. First one, I told you mirroring is, well, the sweet spot between real-time and batch. But hey, why is my mirror hours behind? So check. Is CDC enabled on your data source? It's a prerequisite, especially for SQL Server. Do you have network latency? On-premise to cloud can add a delay. Check that. Do you have high volume? So did you do a huge amount of changes on-prem? This needs more capacity and can take a little bit longer. Is it the initial sync? This can take indeed some time, especially when your database is quite big. So when this is an initial sync, expect some time and don't do it in a rush. You have built-in lag metrics that you should check then. Can I mirror on-premise SQL Server? Yes, you can. SQL 2022 supports mirroring. Requirements is CDC enabled, network connectivity to Fabric, and 2022. Earlier versions, 2019, 2017, don't have support for mirroring. You should use ETL instead. What happens when I have schema changes? Depends. When you add a column, it's usually automatic. When you drop a column, it may require a resync. When you rename a table, this often breaks a mirror, and you have an option that you can check to add additional tables. So you should test schema changes in dev first, and monitor the mirror health after the changes on dev and then, of course, on production. Is mirror data a full copy or incremental? It's both. Initially, it's a full copy of the selected tables. Ongoing, it's an incremental copy via CDC. That's the idea of CDC. Thanks for attending our deep dive on mirroring today. When you want to get notified when I release new videos, please subscribe on my YouTube channel, and I hope to see you next time.